Howdy, and welcome to Lead to Grow, Lesson 3 on root cause versus symptoms. In Lesson 3, we're going to explore what is a root cause analysis. One way to discover the root cause of a problem is to perform a simple root cause analysis. A root cause analysis just requires you to ask a series of why questions. This approach was made popular by the Toyota Motor Corporation to identify the root cause of a problem. It is a technique called the 5 whys. For example, if employees in the workplace have low morale, it is a sign of a problem. Low morale doesn't happen by itself, and it can't be resolved by itself. If you were the leader, you may ask, why do my employees have low morale? The answer might be that they are fearful and lack trust in management. If you ask, why are my employees afraid and lack trust? The answer may be that you have a manager who exhibit destructive behavior. Next, you ask, why does my manager exhibit destructive behavior? And so on. Each time you can answer the why question, you have probably identified a symptom that is actually caused by something else. So continue to ask why for each answer until you can no longer generate a logical response. You now have likely reached the root cause that has generated the observed symptoms. I have said, once you think you've asked your last why question, try ask why one more time. Often we need to really push through to the end of this process to arrive at the genuine root cause of our problem. When you have identified the root cause, put an action plan in place to solve the problem, which prevents future reoccurring problems. Amazing. Many of the symptoms will go away as well. Notice that if you take action too early in the process, you wind up merely addressing the symptoms, often ineffectively. Imagine our scenario mentioned previously with employees with low morale. If you immediately launched a cheery, let's get positive campaign with your people, you would have missed the root cause of the morale problem altogether. So, have you ever performed a root cause analysis on a particular issue or problem? Will you try asking why multiple times as you tackle your next problem? I would like to walk you through what this looks like in practice to discovering the root cause. I'm going to share about an experience I had at my moving and storage company. When we set up our continuous quality improvement program years ago, we found that our ability to distinguish between the symptoms and the actual root cause of a problem was key to the program's effectiveness. Practice and theory are sometimes two different things. So it's my hope that this example will provide a helpful illustration of these concepts in action. Once you start looking, you will find countless opportunities to take similar steps at your own organization. You know, complaints are opportunities. At that time, I remember hearing complaints from our suppliers, the local moving and storage companies in markets servicing our national long distance moving business. And they complained that we were not consistently picking up the customer's household goods at the residence at the agreed date. This meant that our traditional padded van truck drivers were not arriving on time from out of town to pick up the customer's household goods at the residence. The symptoms? It also meant that those suppliers had to unexpectedly stand in the gap and quickly pull a moving crew together, put them in a truck, rush them out to a customer's home after they had already performed a full day's work to pick up the customer's household goods, which was a symptom. Well, as we continue the example about my moving and storage company, the cost reimbursement of this activity from my company to the supplier really was not adequate compared to their actual costs, which was another symptom. Then later that night, the supplier would have to unload their truck and place the household goods into their storage warehouse without any reimbursement for storage, which was another symptom, while waiting for the out-of-town padded van driver. This doesn't sound like a highly successful quality program, does it? If it is true that the shortest route to higher quality in business is to identify and eliminate the root cause barriers to quality, then why was my company having such problems arranging for the padded van driver to arrive on time and avoid all this monkey motion by the supplier? Solving the mystery of quality improvements can be challenging, and often we are distracted by the mere symptoms of the problem. There's a simple way to get to the root cause of the problem by using a technique called root cause analysis. I use this technique in order to discover why we were having such problems in delivering our drivers on time. As we continue this example about my moving and storage company, 30 years ago, with this type of moving job, the customers booked their moving job directly with the supplier, and the supplier would register the customer's moving job with my company. When we set measurable goals and begin to give suppliers measurable feedback, we discovered that when the supplier had to pick up the household goods at the residence on our behalf and hold them at their warehouse, the shipment arrived late to its final destination. There was cargo damage claims increased and customer satisfaction plummeted. But we also discovered this important symptom: the gap between the customer agreed pickup date and the date when the supplier notified us about the pickup averaged only 2 days. We were finding out about these moves scarcely 48 hours before we needed to fulfill them with an out-of-town driver located some distance from the residence. Once we started to give our suppliers measurable feedback on the number of days it took for us to receive their registration, it was amazing how quickly the average number of days of registration significantly increased. This positioned my company to logically and successfully arrange for a padded van driver to arrive on time for the customer's agreed pickup date. Well, again, as we continue this example about my moving company, our suppliers found through our measurable feedback and through through a root cause analysis that the missed pickup dates, the symptom, were not due to poor planning on our part, but because the customer booked their moving jobs were just the book moving jobs were just sitting on someone's desk waiting, and sometimes as much as 2 weeks to be registered. The root cause. Using measurable performance goals to understand a root cause and its symptoms enable you to use measurable feedback to solve a complaint or problem, or even to learn of an opportunity, which can drive successful financial results for your business. And best of all, the customer wins. I've said, use measurable goals and feedback to unemotionally highlight problems and motivate those involved to provide the solutions. Well, in lesson 3, we have been exploring what is a root cause analysis. We should acknowledge that it has taken us generations to get to where we are today, and the problems we are not solving overnight. When you solve symptoms, you're only making the pain go away for a short while, but you have not addressed the root cause. When you have identified the root cause, you can put an action plan in place to solve the problem. And amazing, many of the symptoms will go away as well. So, would you like to be more effective in solving complaints and problems? Are you proactive when it comes to learning about opportunities? How could you leverage the power of goals and feedback in your organization? Are you using measurable goals and feedback? In this lesson 3, write down 1 or 2 action items you would like to take today on root cause versus symptoms. And this concludes lesson 3 on root cause and symptoms.